This week's narrative, getting big mad about other people's rankings on Twitter. This has always been a fascinating and amusing thing for me. I've always laughed at it personally. Like even when I pretend to be mad, I'm literally laughing as I'm typing. But people love to just get big mad on Twitter. Like that's the end of the line. Like, I mean, especially when it comes to ranks, it's like, oh my God, you don't have my wide receiver as your wide receiver one. Like, what are you, an idiot? Like, oh my God, you guys don't have Devonta Smith in your top five. Like, what are you
Mike,
guys
did you like my
blind?
social experiment? I literally tweeted out how to get big in Dynasty Twitter. I said, release your top 6, 10, whatever rankings at quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, and make one of the top 6 at 2 of those 4 positions. So there's credibility in the other ones. Make one of them a random name. So I put Anthony Schwartz as my wide receiver 4, and I think I put Jarrett Patterson as my running back 3. That one didn't catch on as much. The wide receivers, people were big mad. They didn't know who Anthony Schwartz was. They thought he was from the Spaceballs movie. They thought he was some Jewish lawyer. They didn't know who the hell he was. And then come to find out he's a wide receiver for Auburn. But it basically just goes to show, if you want engagement, just throw your rankings a little bit around. Just mess with it a little bit. Put guys that you don't believe in up top, and then people are gonna be like, "Oh shit, you're an idiot." But then I feel conflicted because at the same time, everybody's rankings are the same. If you don't have Jamar Chase number 1, what are you doing? If you don't have Rashad Bateman top 3, what are you doing? If you don't have Devonta Smith in your top 5, what are you doing? But at the same time, how often is it that your number 1 wide receiver ends up being the number 1 wide receiver in the class? I can almost guarantee you less than 1% of fantasy experts and analysts had Justin Jefferson wide receiver 3, 4, or lower. So just because you have Jamar Chase as your wide receiver 4, sure, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, which I totally believe in. If you think he can't separate, whatever, I have him higher than wide receiver 4. But I also think it's kind of stupid that if you don't have him as wide receiver 1, people berate you, but then they also want you to have your own unique rankings.
Yeah, it's the classic catch-22, right? Because everyone on Twitter is like, "Oh, be yourself, be authentic, think for yourself," and then like someone comes up with like a weird rank, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're a fucking idiot!" Like, what are you thinking, right? And it's it's part of Twitter, and it's why I love it and why I hate it at the same time. But for me, like I'm always curious, right? Like because I think like I'm always curious to kind of learn the opposite side, especially on the film side, right? When people, when I'm on there asking about people their ranks, I'm like genuinely curious. I'm like, hey, why do you have this guy so low, or why do you have him so high? Because I don't see it personally from the number side, so I'm always curious about that type of stuff. But we're talking about it, we're joking over before, but like this one guy came out and said like Dwayne Eskridge is the wide receiver that we all want Jamar Chase to be. And, that type of comment,
that's
yeah,
a little
he's like
fishing, right? Because
he's
that's coming
definitely
for basically everybody. Because
yeah,
nobody has Eskridge higher than Jamar Chase.
yeah, nobody has Eskridge higher, but like I feel like you could have picked like any other wide receiver because like when you dug that comment was bullshit because once we started digging in the comments, we're like, well, like why do you think that? He's like, oh, it's actually not a comp. I don't think they're similar players at all. I'm like, well, then why the fuck are we comping them to the same thing, right? Those types of comments are stupid, but I do respect when someone goes out on a limb. Someone like a Devi Asuf, Fusavu. If you guys don't know who he is, fucking follow him. This guy's the most entertaining guy on Twitter, guaranteed. He just like dunks on film Twitter all day long, and it's hilarious.
He might also threaten your life, which comes with the territory.
Yeah,
but
yeah. He'll say stuff like "pull up, bitch" when you make fun of him, and I fucking love it. It's awesome. But like guys like that who go on a limb. He came out and said Antonio Gibson's better than CEH before the season started. After the Chiefs drafted him, he came out and said Cam Akers better than CEH. He came out and said James Robinson is better than CEH before the season started. After the Kansas City Chiefs drafted him, do you know how much balls that takes? That is like a Dwayne Eskridge over Jamar Chase type take, except he actually has the stuff to back it up, and it's not just for clicks. So, there's guys that sell clicks like PFF. If you want to be a clickbait master, go follow them. They always putting out clickbait shit.
What do you think of their comp, Mike? Sterling Shepard to Diami Brown, guys that couldn't be more different. A slot receiver versus a field stretcher.
Like, dude, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they comp freaking Laviska Shenault to Saquon Barkley last year. So I don't know, man. They're going for clicks, and I get it. They're trying to sell a product. They're doing what their thing, and if that's your thing, like, dude, go for it, man. Like, just know that that's what it is. We don't try and go for clicks here at BDG, except for that one troll tweet that Noah did because there's a fun
there's more to come. I love it. People are like, "Who is Anthony Schwartz?" I'm like, "My wide receiver 4." Can't you read?
Like, dude, we love trolling people, right? But when it comes down to the analysis, I promise you that we're not putting out ranks for clickbait because we know you're paying for our product and we want you to win. So like what we put out there is what we believe, and if it's against the grain, it's against the grain. If we had Antonio Gibson as our running back 5 before the combine, that's because we really believed he was our running back 5, right? So don't go hate on people because they have different ranks. Like try and learn, like try and ask them why. Like, and don't go be like, why do you have this? Are you fucking stupid? Be like, hey, like I'm curious. Like, why do you have that guy? I used to have that approach. I was like, what are you guys fucking stupid? Like you're ranking like this. Now I've changed a bit because I want to try and learn the other side. Because like I had N'Keal Harry as my wide receiver 1. Obviously that was fucking stupid. A lot of people did, right? And other smarter people than me had DK Metcalf as a wide receiver 1, had AJ Brown as a wide receiver 1. They were obviously right. And last year I had Jalen Rager as my wide receiver 2, right? That was obviously wrong.
He was my
I was
wide receiver 1,
Yeah.
which I'm
Luckily,
not out on yet.
luckily, we were also smart enough to put Justin Jefferson as wide receiver 3, which was higher than the consensus, so it paid off, right? But we don't get there without asking these questions. And if you just want a rank that agrees with you, why the fuck are you even going on Twitter? Just go put out your own ranks, jerk off to it, and go draft your draft, right? Like, do that for yourself. Like, it's interesting. Twitter is interesting because there is countering opinions and there is differences, and that's what I find fascinating. So next time you pick up your freaking keyboard warrior and about to tweet that hateful shit and call someone stupid, call someone an idiot, just put it down, man, and just go jerk off to your own rankings instead. Because I promise you, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Not me, not Noah, nobody. Like
I
your
definitely
ranks,
don't care.
your ranks are just as shitty as our ranks. It's just as shitty as someone else's ranks. It's just whatever you believe. And as long as you have a good process, as long as you have some good rationale for why you're getting there, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all that matters.
Yeah,
And
to me,
and
like if you can just rationally back why you have
yeah,
a player ranked as high as you do, then
yeah,
what's the point? Like I have Rashad Bateman as my wide receiver 1 this year, and
yeah.
I think Devonta Smith 4 or 5. I have Jamar Chase 2 or 3. Whereas a lot of those guys are higher in consensus or higher overall than a Rashad Bateman is, that like per consensus. I can explain why I have him. I watched the film. I liked what I saw out of him more. I saw a lot of Allen Robinson in his game. He has the metrics to boot. He broke out at 18 years old. He competed with a guy who just won the Super Bowl and Tyler Johnson. Like there are a lot of things to like about these players. And me also ranking Rashad Bateman number 1 isn't a slight to Jamar Chase fans either. It's not a slight to Devonta Smith fans either. It's just how I value players. And I know I had Jalen Rager number 1 overall in my wide receiver rankings last year. I was wrong. I'm not afraid to admit that I was wrong on that. And a guy like Justin Jefferson blew him out of the water. If I could go back and do it again, I probably would. I'd probably have Jalen Rager number 1 again, knowing what I know now. But if I could have backed it up last year, which I tried to, I liked his game. I liked his metrics. I liked his analytics. That's really, to me at least, all you need, because everybody's gonna have a difference of opinion. I
Mhm.
might like dynamic wide receivers, whereas Mike might like those big prototypical T Higgins guys, which is why he probably had T Higgins higher than I had him, and so on and so forth. So everybody has their own preferences, everybody has their own models, everybody has their own way of evaluating prospects. And I don't think that it should be something to berate somebody over if it varies from consensus, because as we said, consensus is very often wrong, especially at the top.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, next time you're curious, man, just go in there and be like, hey, like, why do you have this guy here? And they might have a dumbass reason, because I promise you, there's a bunch of rankings out there that are straight trash, and there is no process, there is no thought behind it. They are trying to get clickbait. But then on the flip side, there are guys that put out controversial stuff that have really good rationale, or at least well thought out reasons. You may not agree with them, right? You might hear them out, be like, nah, I still don't agree. But at least you would have like heard that other side and given you something to think about. Because look, there's nothing worse than going on Twitter, hopping in a circle jerk with all your buddies who say the same shit as you and confirm your biases. That is like the worst thing we can do for Twitter and like your own process. Is like, it's good to challenge yourself and kind of go out there and think about things. I'm constantly thinking about stuff. I'm constantly changing my opinion by taking into account opinions of others who I do trust, who I've had discussions with. I think that's just a part of the game. And anyone that doesn't do that, I think yeah, that's a very flawed process, because there's just like way too much information out there for one person to know it all, consume it all, analyze it all, and then make the right decisions from it all. You
If you go
need
on
to
Twitter
really,
just to affirm your beliefs, like we'll use an example of you, Mike. If you just went on Twitter to affirm your beliefs, I'm sure you wouldn't be as big of a fan of Jalen Waddle as you are right now. You'd have probably
oh yeah,
thrown him out just
100%.
because he doesn't hit analytical thresholds. But you see guys like Ray G, and you see other people post clips, and you get to then look into his game because you're intrigued by it. You have him higher than most analytical guys do because he didn't break out. But when you look into the context of the situation, or just liking the way that the guy plays football, you're going to have him higher than you may have had him before if you just went in with the mindset that, oh, I'm going to be steadfast in my approach and not take in new information and look at this from an outside perspective, rather than going into this echo chamber of other people who think exactly like me and are telling me to fade him. That would also lead you to think that Terry McLaurin would suck. That would also lead you to think Brandon Ayuk would suck and Chase Claypool would suck, which are all guys we were probably both lower on the consensus. But if you maybe stepped out of that box, if I maybe stepped out of that box with an Ayuk or Chase Claypool and looked into their situation and what they brought to the table more, then maybe I would have had them higher than I did rank them in these past few seasons, and I would have capitalized on their value also.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have Claypool, but there was an opportunity to have Ayuk a little bit higher if I just dug in more, and I didn't. So, going forward, these are the lessons we learned, take away, and we're going to keep getting better and hopefully get you guys, better information because, we are at the end of the day, like I don't really even think of myself as an analyst. I've never thought of myself as an
Oh,
analyst.
I
First of
don't
all.
either. I'm just a guy with a Twitter account that's an asshole sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just an asshole with a Twitter account. I think of myself more of like almost as like a data aggregator, right? Like I take in all the information on Twitter, I take in all the information on podcasts, YouTube's, talking to people, and then I like take all that and I just basically like form my opinion, which is not more right or more wrong than anyone else's, and I just tell it to you guys. That's basically all I am. I'm a conduit for information, good or bad, and I'm a conduit for memes, and that's basically all we are here.
Mike's
So
just the
hopefully,
human telephone game.
yeah, exactly. Broken telephone. Someone's telling me like Jalen Waddle stinks, but I'm like, nah, he's fucking good. I'm telling you
Yeah,
guys.
we're gonna mess that up in translation a little bit. We'll just tell you he's good.
Yeah. All right. That's all we got for you on this week's narrative. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, if you did, please subscribe to the channel. Please hit thumbs up. It helps us more than you know. Follow Noah at FB God. Follow me at Mike Me Up with 2Ps on Twitter and on Instagram. And tune in next week, man. We got more narratives. We got more films. And make sure you tune into the NBA Top Shots videos
Later
coming out today.
All right, peace.
Peace.